Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 19th of February and we will be dealing with three very important topics. Out of the three topics, one is the thematic discussions which we have started, that is the chapter by chapter discussion of the economic survey. We are currently into the second chapter, that is monetary and financial sector developments in India. And today we will be covering the second part of it, where we will be discussing in detail about the development finance institutions in the country. What are they? What is their objective? What do they do and all? And what is their current situation? Apart from it, the two topics which are in news which we will be dealing is, first is the Emir of Qatar visit to India. This was his second visit. Last one was in 2015. Well, this visit was special because of multiple reasons. Number one, Mr. Modi broke the protocol and went to the airport to receive the Emir. This highlights the deep, friendship and trust between both the countries. Second, the relationship between India and Qatar have been upgraded to strategic partnership, which can give, further boost to the already high momentum of ties between both the countries. Apart from it, Qatar has also pledged to invest $10 billion in India. India's UPI will be working now in Qatar, and our energy ties have to be deepened further. So, these are the major key takeaways from this visit of the Emir of Qatar. Second is appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner. Chief Election Commissioner, the head of the Election Commission of India, a constitutional body, is again, in controversy. Why? Because Mr. Gyanesh Kumar, the new Chief Election Commissioner of India, has been appointed by the selection committee, and he becomes the first Chief Election Commissioner to be appointed by the selection committee, which comprises of the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition, and one cabinet minister chosen by the Prime Minister. Now, earlier there was, this provision of appointing the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioners of India by the President of India on the recommendations of the Prime Minister. Supreme Court in 2023 intervened and said that there needs to be some transparency in that, and hence Supreme Court formed a committee comprising of the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and the Chief Justice of India, and said that the Parliament should be making a law for appointing the Chief Election Commissioner. Parliament made a law, and in that law, the Chief Justice of India was removed from the selection committee and replaced by a cabinet minister. And on this particular issue, there was a case filed in the Supreme Court. The case is still pending, but yes, appointment have been done by the selection committee comprising of the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and the Union Minister appointed by the Prime Minister. Now, you know, that is why the Leader of Opposition has dissented, and that is why it is in controversy. So we'll look into this particular topic in detail, and then we will be, understanding it. Now, the first, topic, that is the Emir of Qatar visits India. Now, you can see this photograph where the Prime Minister of India himself reached the airport to receive the Emir of Qatar. This is not part of the protocol. Either of the ministers, they go and receive the visiting dignitaries. But here, the Prime Minister himself went. Now, this in itself, this gesture in itself, talks multiple, I would say, or talks a lot about the importance of Qatar for India and vice versa also, and the growing, I would say, partnership between both these countries. We could also see, last year or last to last year, when there was this controversy of 8 ex-Navy veterans when they were sentenced to life by a Qatar court. Then, on the intervention of the Indian leaders, the Qatar government, reversed that decision. Although there were 8 of them, 7 of them have come back to India. One is still there in Qatar and is still under detention. But yes, life imprisonment or life sentence has been revoked. But yes, that was at display the deep relations between both these countries in that episode as well. And now, this gesture of the Indian Prime Minister talks volumes. So on February 17, Prime Minister Narendra Modi broke diplomatic protocol by personally welcoming Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani of Qatar at the New Delhi airport. So we can refer him to as Al Thani only. This was part of Al Emir's 2-day visit or state visit to India, his second trip since March 2015. And PM Modi described Emir as his brother and wished him a productive stay in India. And he was also greeted by Minister of External Affairs, Mr. S. Jaishankar. Now, why did the Indian PM break the protocol? I have, told you this, but yes, once again, let's do it in a structured way. It was a sign of strong friendship and strategic partnership between India and Qatar. It was also an indication of importance that both countries place on strengthening their ties. And special gesture showed the growing political, economic, and cultural ties between the two nations. India proclaims itself to be a Vishwamitra, and we have good friends everywhere in the world. Qatar is one of India's good friend in West Asia. West Asia, which is always on the boil. West Asia, which is diverse, which is dynamic, and which is very fragile also. So we need to have good friends in such regions. West Asia, which is also an important region for India's energy security. So that highlights the importance of this country, although a small country, but yes, a very important one for India. How it is important, we will see a bit. Now, key events. Emir arrives in India and holds talks with External Affairs Minister Mr. S. Jaishankar on February 17th. 18th February, ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, followed by talks with PM Modi at Hyderabad House. And MOUs were exchanged, focusing on trade and cooperation in energy, defense, and technology. So, energy is the hallmark. Do you know that Qatar is the largest supplier of LPG to India and LNG, liquefied natural gas, also to India? So, yes, energy ties are important. After the meeting with PM Modi, Emir met President Murmu as well. So, yes, yesterday, a lot of images were circulating around the social media. Then, if we talk about the major outcomes of this particular meeting, first of all, strategic partnership has been established. So, what is strategic partnership? I've told you multiple times before, but yes, let's revise. Strategic partnership is that partnership which is multi-dimensional. There are multiple dimensions. There is economic integration, there is technological integration, energy ties are there, or I would say cultural ties are there, people to people ties are there. But any partnership will only be called as strategic partnership only and only if defense cooperation is there. Defense cooperation has to be one among many other dimensions of cooperation with each other. And defense cooperation means there has to be defense trade, there has to be defense exercises, there has to be, agreements like intelligence sharing agreements, logistics agreements, and such like. So that has been established. We were having multi-dimensional partnership with Qatar. No doubt about this fact before 2025. But this tag of strategic partnership will give a new boost to the already high momentum ties between both these countries. It will give a structured approach, I would say. So, two sides reaffirmed their commitments to further strengthen the bilateral relations through regular and structured cooperation in all areas, including political, trade, investment, security, energy, culture, education, technology, innovation, sustainability, and people to people ties. So, these are going to be the dimensions, and out of which this is that compulsory dimension which makes the partnership as strategic partnership. Then a revised agreement for avoidance of double taxation and prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income between India and Qatar was also exchanged. So, yes, double taxes should be avoided. It will further streamline investment flow from one country to the other country. So, that is, that was re-revised. Then the two sides welcomed the elevation of the existing joint working group on trade and commerce into a joint commission on trade and commerce. So, joint commission means an institutional mechanism is being set up for promoting trade and commerce between both the countries. This is simply done because countries are hopeful that trade is going to increase. Two sides agreed to explore the possibility of entering into a bilateral comprehensive economic partnership agreement. This is the highest level of free trade agreement where tariffs and all are reduced. Now, the similar kind of comprehensive economic partnership agreement we signed with UAE in 2022. And, you know, uh, Qatar is going to be the second country if we sign the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, second country in West Asia with which we have this SEPA. Now, India already has a SEPA with Japan. We have a SEPA with South Korea. And now we will be having a SEPA with Qatar if things materialize. Then UPI will be operational in Qatar. This is India's, digital public infrastructure. This is, everyone knows what UPI is. Nothing to explain over here. Then QNB, Qatar National Bank's expansion is also welcomed in India through setting up of an office in the Gift City, and Gift City is in Gujarat. So that is going to be a commercial hub, a worthwhile commercial hub of the future. Qatar Investment Authority, QIA, to open an office in India. Expressed interest to explore investment opportunities in different sectors, including infrastructure, technology, manufacturing, food security, logistics, hospitality, and other areas of mutual interest. And for this purpose, Qatar will invest $10 billion in India. This has been announced by Qatar. So this is what we need to know and understand about, the major outcomes. The areas of cooperation. When we talk about the areas of cooperation, the Emir's visit will focus on several key areas of cooperation. First is trade and investment. India and Qatar aim to expand economic cooperation, particularly in energy and technology. The energy cooperation, Qatar is India's largest supplier of liquefied natural gas. And can you imagine, 48% of India's LNG imports were coming from Qatar. Qatar is not only India's largest supplier of LNG, it is also the largest supplier of LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. It is the cooking gas which we use in our kitchens. And 29% of India's total LPG imports come from Qatar. So that is the importance of Qatar in the energy sector of India. Technology and innovation, the two countries are looking to explore collaboration in renewable energy, fintech, and startups. So, fintech UPI will now be operational in Qatar. So, the first step has been taken, I would say. And let's see how further steps are taken. Defense cooperation, the visit will also highlight the ongoing defense cooperation between the two countries, which includes training for Qatar's military personnel by India and participation in defense exhibitions like DIMDEX. This is a biennial, I would say exhibition in Qatar, in Doha it is. The significance of the visit is it is especially important because the strong bilateral ties that have developed between India and Qatar in recent years, uh, they were at showcase or they were displayed. Historically, their relationship was relatively quiet, but recent developments have dramatically improved cooperation. Qatar is also wanting to indulge with the fastest growing economy of the world. Qatar sees India as a potential market for its products, especially for its energy products. Then why not? Now, key statistics and facts. Trade between India and Qatar is $20 billion annually. Qatar's exports to India, LNG, LPG, chemicals, petrochemicals, plastics, and aluminium. India's exports to Qatar, cereals, copper articles, iron and steel, fruits and vegetables, spices, machinery, plastic products, and textiles. Energy cooperation, we know, largest supplier of LNG and largest supplier of LPG. Defense ties, India provides defense training to Qatar's military personnel. Indian naval and coastal guard ships regularly visit Qatar for bilateral cooperation. And India participates in Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference DIMDEX, which is held biennially in Qatar. Now, since strategic partnership has been established, defense trade can increase, defense exports from India can increase to Qatar. Then military exercises can increase in the Indian Ocean region. There are threats in the Indian Ocean region like Houthis did in Red Sea, and it was a big blow to the supply chains. So, in all these sectors, definitely we can further proceed or further deepen our strategic partnership, which has been established now. Then, cultural and people to people ties. Indians in Qatar, approximately 8.4 lakh Indians live and work in Qatar. They contribute to various sectors, including medicine, engineering, finance, business, and media. The Indian companies in Qatar, around 15,000 Indian companies operate in Qatar with a cumulative investment of about $450 million over there. And security and diplomacy, Qatar has assumed a larger role in West Asian security, mediating between global powers and regional players like Taliban and Israel-Palestine. So, when this peace talks, the Afghan peace process was initiated in 2018. It was initiated in Doha. It was also referred to as the Doha peace process, where the Taliban, the democratically elected government of Afghanistan, and the foreign forces were part of it. It also has a history of mediating in the Israel-Palestine conflict. So it is always looking for establishing peace and stability in the Arab world. And India is on the same page with respect to this. So, this is there. India and Qatar collaborate on regional security issues, with Qatar serving as a critical player in security discussions. But yes, there are pending issues. I told you about those 8 ex-Navy veterans which were sentenced to life in Qatar last year, I think. But yes, I would say, life sentence was revoked after the intervention of the Indian government. And out of the 8 ex-Navy veterans which were sentenced, 7 have returned to India, 1 is still there, and that is the pending issue. I hope that person will also return after the due, I would say, uh, investigation and all is complete. Now, the next topic is appointment of Chief Election Commissioner. Now, Mr. Gyanesh Kumar has been appointed as the new Chief Election Commissioner of India. Mr. Rajiv Kumar has been retired. And Mr. Gyanesh Kumar has become the first ever Chief Election Commissioner of India to be appointed by a selection panel or selection committee. Selection committee comprises of the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition, and one Union Cabinet Minister chosen by the Prime Minister in this committee. Now, this, I would say, framework of appointing the Chief Election Commissioner of India was not present before. That is why I am saying that Mr. Gyanesh Kumar is the first Chief Election Commissioner to be appointed by this panel, the selection committee. Then how was the Chief Election Commissioner appointed earlier? That is the question. So, how were the CECs appointed before? So, see, Chief Election Commissioners, election commissioners, there is one Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioners. Now, in the Constitution of India, it is a constitutional post because they are heading a constitutional body. So, in the Constitution of India, as per Article 324, it is written that the President shall appoint the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. But how the President shall appoint, it is not written. Only one liner it is written that the President shall appoint. Now also it is written the same, but answers have been found out to how the President shall appoint. Earlier, there were answers to this question, but now the answers have changed, we can say. Now, let's go to the blue board where we will see how President shall appoint the CEC and ECs. CEC, Chief Election Commissioner, ECs, Election Commissioners. This is as per Article 324 of the Constitution. In the Constitution, it was mentioned. Okay. Now, talking about this, how the President appointed the Prime Minister along with the Cabinet, recommended names, and CECs and ECs were appointed. This was the earlier method. But now, what happened? Supreme Court in 2023 came into action. Somebody filed a petition that the appointment of such constitutional posts is, not transparent. It should be transparent. And it was the same way since the constitution was adopted since 1950. This was the method which was there for appointing chief election commissioners and election commissioners. I think it was too late for someone to intervene and say, bhai, this is not transparent. Chalo, der aaye durust aaye. Supreme Court in 2023 intervened and said that a selection committee should be there. Selection committee should comprise of the PM, the leader of opposition, and the Chief Justice of India. These 3 people will decide who will be the CEC and ECs, and these 3 people in the selection committee will recommend the names to the president, and as per the constitution, the president will appoint the chief election commissioner and election commissioner. Now, the PM and all, they were replaced by this selection committee. And the Supreme Court also said that this process of appointing the chief election commissioner and election commissioners by the president on the recommendations of the selection committee comprising of PM, LOP and CJI will be there unless the parliament passes a law. The parliament in 2023 only passed a law and said that chief election commissioner and election commissioners will be appointed by the president on the recommendations of the selection committee. But the selection committee will comprise of prime minister, leader of opposition, and one union cabinet minister chosen by the prime minister. This will be the selection committee as per the parliament law. And that is why Mr. Modi, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and Mr. Amit Shah were in the selection committee. Achha, one more thing was written in this parliamentary law, that one search committee will be there. Don't get confused. Search committee is separate. This is the selection committee. This is the search committee. Search committee will be headed by the law minister. It will also comprise of bureaucrats, senior bureaucrats and all. Now, this search committee will search 5 names and bring those 5 names to this selection committee. It depends on the selection committee to choose among those 5 names, or it can look beyond those 5 names also. And whatever recommendation is being given to the president by the selection committee, that is binding on the president, and that person should be appointed as CEC or ECs. Now, this particular law has been challenged in the Supreme Court by Association of Democratic Reforms. And that is why the leader of opposition was dissenting that we should not adopt this particular procedure to appoint the CEC and ECs, since this has been challenged by someone. It is still pending in the court and all. So, this was the scenario. And that is why it became controversial. Let's get back. So, previously the election commission consisting of CEC and ECs had its members appointed directly by the president on the advice of the prime minister and his cabinet. Traditionally, the senior most election commissioner was appointed as the CEC. Seniority was determined based on the date of appointment. Now, in the current commission, Rajiv Kumar is the CEC with Gyanesh Kumar and Sukhbir Singh Sandhu serving as election commissioners. Both Gyanesh Kumar and Sukhbir Singh Sandhu were appointed on the same day, that was March 14, 2014. And since Gyanesh Kumar's name appears first in the official notification, he is considered senior. Now, under the old system, Gyanesh Kumar would have automatically been appointed as the new CEC following the Rajiv Kumar's retirement. But this time, the appointment process is different. Selection committee has to choose. How will the new CEC be appointed? The new CEC will be appointed by the selection committee. Selection committee comprising of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, leader of opposition Mr. Rahul Gandhi, a union cabinet minister nominated by the Prime Minister, and this was in this case Mr. Amit Shah. But this selection committee will be receiving a list from the search committee. Search committee is responsible for creating a short list of 5 candidates for both CEC and EC's roles. Search committee is headed by the law minister, currently Mr. Arjun Ram Meghwal, and consists of 2 senior bureaucrats serving as secretaries to the government of India. It depends on the selection committee whether to consider the names shortlisted by the search committee only or to look beyond them. There was this dissent by Mr. LOP, that is leader of opposition, that Mr. Gyanesh Kumar, the way we are appointing him is not right because this has been challenged in the court. So that was the scenario. Now, does the new act specify eligibility conditions? Yes, the 2023 act passed by the parliament specifies eligibility conditions for CEC and election commissioners. They must be individuals who have held or are holding positions equivalent to rank of secretary to the government of India. They should be persons of integrity with knowledge of and experience in managing and conducting elections. Additionally, the Act specifies a CEC and election commissioner can serve for no more than 6 years in total with no reappointment allowed. So, 6 years in total and no reappointment. That is the scenario. Now, why was the appointment process changed by the government? Now, there is simple logic over here. The government said that the judiciary does not like the executive or legislature interfering in the judiciary. Judiciary calls it or considers it unconstitutional. Similarly, the executive will also not like judiciary interfering in the matters of executive. So that was the thought process. Mutually exclusive they should be, right? Bringing in CGI in the selection committee would be equivalent to judiciary interfering in the matters of executive. So that was the basic logic. But yes, Supreme Court's intervention led to the change in appointment process. No doubt about this fact. Between 2015 and 22, several petitions were filed challenging the exclusive power of the government. Now, why weren't these petitions filed before 2015? Why were people sleeping? That is also a big question. So that is a constitutional post, right? And people should have been awakened for that earlier also. कोई बात नहीं, देर आए दुरुस्त आए, and things have happened. Supreme Court noted that the Constitution's framers never intended for executive to have always or to have exclusive control over these appointments. Court also expressed concerns about devastating effect of leaving the process solely to the executive. And as a result, it ruled that a selection committee should be formed, and in Supreme Court's ruling, the selection committee should comprise of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India. However, in December 2023, Parliament passed a law, and in that law, CGI was replaced by a Union Cabinet Minister nominated by the Prime Minister. Now, this change effectively gave the executive more control over the selection process as compared to the judiciary. But is the matter now settled? No. This new law, which has been passed by the Parliament, has been challenged in the Supreme Court. The Association for Democratic Reforms, ADR, has filed a petition challenging the removal of Chief Justice of India from the selection committee. The key issue raised in the petition is whether Parliament has the legal authority to change Supreme Court judgments through a law or not. And Supreme Court has agreed to hear the matter on February 19, 2025, that is today, a day after Rajiv Kumar's retirement. So let's see what Supreme Court judgment comes, and definitely we will be covering that as well if it will be substantial. So Justice Suryakant assured that the petitioners that court's decision on the validity of the new law would apply even if the appointments were made in the interim period. So the courts will decide on that. Now the economic survey, chapter 2. We are entering into the part 2 of monetary and financial sector developments in India. And today we will be discussing about the development financial institutions. Those financial institutions which are responsible for ensuring development in the country. Those financial institutions which are providing loans for infrastructure development, which are providing loans for, I would say, industrialization and such like. Those are called as developmental financial institutions or development financial institutions, DFIs. So DFIs are key players in supporting economic progress, no doubt about this fact. And they promote economic expansion through funding infrastructure developments. That is the key, I would say, focus area of these DFIs. Financial and technical aid. These institutions provide financial and technical aid, expert advice and assistance across various sectors, including reports on projects, feasibility studies, analysis to assess the viability of a project, and advisory services. Now, credit access. By enhancing access to credit, the ability of businesses or individuals to obtain loans, DFIs encourage more loans for critical areas like infrastructure and housing projects. Long-term funding. DFIs offer long-term funding for key sectors, supporting economic growth, industrial expansion, infrastructure development, and growth of small and medium-sized businesses, that is SMEs. The historical context of DFIs in India, they have been present in India since long, but now things are changing. They're becoming larger, they're becoming better, and they're becoming more efficient as well. So early DFIs, initial DFIs were established between 1950s and 1960s. And which included Industrial Financial Corporation of India, IFCI, a government financial institute for industrial funding, Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, ICICI, a major financial institution providing credit and investment services. Then this ICICI became a bank also, scheduled commercial bank, open for the common public. Then Industrial Development Bank of India, IDBI, an institution focused on industrial development. It again became a bank later on. it started catering to the common public. Transformation over time, these DFIs transformed into universal banks, banks offering a wide range of financial services such as commercial banking, investment, and asset management or commercial banks, resulting in fewer institutions. Now, which are the recent institutions? Recent institutions such as Infrastructure Development Finance Company, IDFC, a financial institution for infrastructure development. Then India Infrastructure Finance Company Limited, IIFCL, a company focused on infrastructure funding. And National Bank for Financing and Infrastructure Development, NABFID, a dedicated bank for infrastructure development, were created to fund infrastructure development. So, we will see IIFCL, India Infrastructure Finance Company Limited. So, IIFCL has played a key role in supporting India's infrastructure development over the last 18 years now. Means it was established somewhere around 2000, I would say 7 or so. Diversified lender it is. As a long-term financing institutions, IIFCL is one of the most diversified public sector infrastructure lenders. Sectoral impact of IIFCL's, 31,000 kilometers of highways, 22% of India's national highways capacity. 95 gigawatt of installed energy capacity has been funded by IIFCL. 22 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, 11% of India's total renewable energy capacity, and 880 million tons of port capacity has been funded by IIFCL. No doubt about this fact that this profile of IIFCL is very impressive, and it makes it one of the most important, uh, lenders in the infrastructure domain of India. Next is National Bank for Financing and Infrastructure Development, NABFID. This was also in news during the budget speech of the Finance Minister of India. Now, it was established as per the NABFID Act 2021. So, it is very recent. The legislation that created NABFID as a specialized bank for infrastructure. NABFID received All India Financial Institution status, AIFI status from the Reserve Bank of India on March 8, 2022. Now, apart from NABFID, there are four other All India financial institutions. One is NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Next is SIDBI, Small Industrial Development Bank of India, a financial institution for small businesses. Then is NHB, National Housing Bank. Then next is Exim Bank, Export Import Bank of India. So, there are total 5 AIFIs in India now: NABARD, SIDBI, NHB, Exim Bank, and NABFID. Now, objectives of NABFID. What are the objectives? Since it is very late and it was in the budget also, so let us know more details about it. Financial objective: to lend or invest directly or indirectly to attract investment from private and institutional investors for infrastructure projects. To work with the central and state governments, regulators, financial institutions, institutional investors, and other stakeholders. So, let me remind you, friends, we covered this, but yes, let me remind you that the government of India is providing interest-free loans to the state governments. But condition is that those loans should be invested in infrastructure creation, and those loans will be disbursed for 50 years. So, NABFID is disbursing loans basically to the state governments on behalf of the central government. Interest-free loans for 50 years, condition applied, should be invested in the infrastructure sector. By September 30, 2024, NABFID had sanctioned 1.3 lakh crore in loans with the road and energy sectors, including renewable energy, accounting for over 3/4 of the loans. So, road, energy, renewable energy is their part of energy sector, and this was the 3/4 of the loans comprising in these two sectors alone, which were given to the various stakeholders. Project pipeline: NABFID has identified a pipeline of projects across multiple sectors: roads, power generation, renewables, railways, ports, transmissions and distribution, data centers, and social sectors like hospitals, public services like education and all. But yes, as of now, 3/4 of the loans disbursed by NABFID have gone to the road infrastructure and the energy sector, including renewable energy. We need to diversify it further. Now, coming on to the MCQs based on these topics. Consider the following statements with respect to India and Qatar and mark the correct one. Qatar is the largest supplier of petroleum to India. India and Qatar established strategic partnership in 2015. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Second, consider the following statements and mark how many of them are correct. Qatar is India's largest supplier of LNG. Qatar is India's largest supplier of LPG. India is a participant of Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference held annually in Qatar. Only one statement is correct, only two statements are correct, all the statements are correct, or none of the statements are correct. Who among the following heads the search committee for appointment of CEC and ECs? Law Minister, CGI, Leader of Opposition, or the Prime Minister? Fourth, which of these is not categorized as All India Financial Institutions, AIFI, NABARD, SIDBI, NABFID, or RRBs? Now coming to the MCQs of yesterday. Consider the following statements with respect to civil liability for Nuclear Damage Act, CLNDA Act 2010, and mark the correct one. The CLNDA 2010 entails operator liability only and not the supplier's liability. There are both. Operator liability is the main, supplier liability in case the accident happens due to failure of an equipment supplied by the supplier. It is proven then suppliers will also have to pay compensation to the operator and operator to the people. So first statement is wrong. As per the law, the operator has to set aside funds to cover damages with the government stepping in if the cost exceeds a certain amount. Yes, this is absolutely true. So second statement is true. Consider the following pairs and mark how many of them are correct. Kudankulam nuclear power plant, country is Russia. Yes, this is correct, and Russia is the only country till now which has supplied any equipment for creating a nuclear power plant in the country. Rosatom is the nuclear power entity of uh, Russia which has done that. Then Kovada nuclear power plant which is coming up in Andhra Pradesh. USA is going to supply for that. Yes, condition applied, the CLNDA and Atomic Energy Act, they are amended. Jaitapur nuclear power plant, which is going to be in Maharashtra and it is going to be the world's largest nuclear power plant. France is going to help in that. Yes, that is true. So all three are correct. So all the pairs are correctly matched over here. Third, consider the following statements with respect to corruption perception index and mark the correct one. It is an annual index released by Transparency International, which is very true. It is an annual index being released by Transparency International since 1995. According to 2024 index, India performs better than all countries in South Asia. So first of all, South Asia comprises of Maldives, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. And among these 8 countries, Bhutan performs better than India. Score of Maldives and India is same 38 and ranking also is the same 96. So this statement is wrong. Bhutan performs better than India. So only one is going to be the correct option over here. Fourth, where is Transparency International headquartered? It was a very simple direct question. It is Berlin, Germany. And the last question, consider the following statements with respect to regional rural banks and mark the correct one. RRBs are regulated by RBI. RRBs are regulated by NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So first statement is wrong. RRBs are a statutory body. They were established by a law in 1975, Regional Rural Banks Act 1975. Number of RRBs have reduced since 2006. Yes, due to consolidation and mergers, they have been reduced, but their outreach has increased. So this is true. So 2 and 3 are the correct statements. Hence, B is the correct option. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I will be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai.